Our next speaker has no honorary titles, qualifications, or credentials. He would describe himself as a simple man, a nobody. But this nobody, with a simple question, lit the country on fire and cut through ABC's Q&A echo chamber. Are we going to keep going with immigration until every Australian is homeless? Please put your hands together for Morgan Cox.
Please forgive me. I've never made a speech before to anyone. I'm just going to tell my story and just what I think the solutions are, just from what I can see down on the ground. Some months ago, maybe a year ago, my family received an enormous rent increase notice for almost $10,000 a year. My partner was at home with a baby at the time, and we'd had a difficult financial year. My car needed a new engine. The rent increase was far more than we could afford. I went searching for a cheaper home, but there was hardly anything available. And what was available, there was dozens of other people viewing them. I noticed many of them were speaking other languages, and they all seemed just as desperate as me. Some people said that they would pay the entire lease in advance to secure the property. Others were students and they were going to be sharing, and I couldn't compete with any of those. So our situation was hopeless, and my family, our 1-year-old baby, we were facing homelessness, and that was obviously terrifying. I found out later that the situation is not unique. In fact, it's been reported that 3.3 million people are in poverty, 3 million are at risk of homelessness. That's almost half of all the renters in Australia. It's also been reported about 10,000 people a month are being forced out of their homes. And with the changing definitions for homelessness, poor data reporting, it's likely the real situation is considerably worse, especially given that councils are moving people along and we just don't see it. It's all hidden. Forcing millions of people into poverty, the risk of homelessness has serious and far-reaching social and economic consequences. And I believe we're starting to feel a lot of those now. My situation woke me up to the reality that in Australia, things are not nearly as rosy as the government would have us all believe. In fact, for millions of us, it's very dark indeed, and getting darker. I thought about why it might be the way that it is, and I came to the realization that it's a simple maths problem. At least from where I sit, it just looks like there's too many people and not enough homes. We can't build enough houses for the sheer number of people the government's bringing in. This is evidenced by the fact that with $10 billion in 2 years, the government only managed to build, as far as I can find, 358 homes with $10 billion. At the same time, according to the best data I could find, our population, including short-term visas who I assume also sleep in beds, has increased by around 1.23 million people. Normally that would require us to build a new capital city almost the size of Adelaide with all of its infrastructure every couple of years. But we didn't, and we can't, because it's completely impossible and the idea is ludicrous. So most of those 1.23 million people went to Melbourne and Sydney, where my family lives, and you can probably start to see my problem here. Ongoing housing completions are actually lower than pre-COVID, so I don't know if the government expects those 358 homes to sleep something like 3,500 people each, or if how they could possibly not realise the alternative is a staggering number of people being forced onto the streets. My story should give you a hint as to which has happened. There are consequences of trying to jam 2 litres of milk into a 1 litre container. There just isn't enough homes. The government doesn't collect data on homelessness, but estimating from the 280,000 people seeking homelessness services in 2024, and assuming some portion of them had dependent children, and the 10,000 homeless per month figures I mentioned earlier, and depending on the definition we use, there's probably many hundreds of thousands homeless already. And it's the people who can least afford the rent hikes who are forced out. Pensioners, the disabled, single mothers, domestic violence victims, single incomes families, especially those with babies and young children. And the rungs above them are being forced into poverty by the same rent hikes that they can't afford. And we know increasing poverty increases crime. We see criminals, even violent criminals, walking the street with impunity, and the police warning us they might be a while. We see the poor and the homeless don't spend, and they often don't work. So we lose productivity, we lose tax revenue, we see small businesses closing, more people losing their jobs. We see charities are being overwhelmed. I literally had to depend on charities at times, and desperate people are being turned away. In addition to that, the government's already broke, but somehow spending tens of billions of dollars on welfare, much of which shouldn't be needed. Something like $4 billion on rent assistance alone. And of course, we know poverty and homelessness increases the need for medical care, and we see doctors and hospitals are being swamped, especially around where I live. And even the climate, they're always bagging on about the climate. And I tell you, if you want me to care about the climate, I need to know that my family, my children are going to have a safe home to live in before we talk about any of that. So what I see is a slow motion train wreck. The only option that we have to stop millions more being forced into poverty and homelessness is to manage demand. But that's actually not difficult, and it's not unprecedented. They did it in 2020, and this is no less of a national emergency. So after coming to this realization, I saw an opportunity to speak up on TV while that was still allowed. I believe it's not allowed anymore. Later, I held a protest in front of the Prime Minister's clifftop mansion in Copacabana and was heard again. And when I look around now, it seems like the message might have gotten through to the public, but the government still isn't listening. I advocate for sustainable immigration because it would greatly improve millions of people's lives, and especially the young and the disadvantaged, and would literally save lives. Most obviously, homing the homeless, letting them lead a dignified life again. Many could go back to work, improving productivity, increasing tax revenue and spending. It would help alleviate many of the social and economic consequences of poverty and homelessness that we see everywhere. Working people would once again be able to afford children if they wanted, a choice that's largely been taken away from the middle class. That would help with the birth rate, as well as allow future generations to buy their own homes and invest in their own future. There are even precedents. Canada has reduced immigration and immediately saw housing availability increase, rents drop, and the homeless homed. But sustainable immigration also reduces the profits of some very rich, very powerful people and corporations, especially, as far as I can tell, build to rent, property developers, banks, and universities. Just as one example, apparently the University of Canberra welcomes 20,000 foreign students annually, and I'm sure it's only a coincidence that they pay former Labor leader Bill Shorten almost $1 million a year. In fact, the amount of money these people and corporations make is staggering, so I would expect them to protect their vested interests. It's interesting then that as soon as I spoke up, on all my social media accounts were immediately shut down, and even on appeal I'm locked down so hard I'll never reach many people ever again. I'm told that Facebook took down Newsmax's entire Facebook page after running a story on my protest at Albo's mansion. And on top of that, media and universities are releasing absolutely nonsensical articles and papers claiming that unsustainable immigration doesn't affect housing, which if you read them, it's just, I can't believe it. It's nonsense, absolute garbage. Meanwhile, their ABC and other media are calling me far right and racist just for wanting shelter for my family. Call me cynical, but I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think these people are stupid. I think they can understand supply and demand. I think they know this is not about race or politics. I think they're just simply choosing their enormous profits over the suffering of vulnerable people. They have vested interests and they're protecting them. Many people, especially politicians, claim their issues are more important, but for example, Palestine is on the other side of the world and climate change might be a problem in 30 years. But here, now, literally 100 meters from here, there is homeless camps. There are elderly living and even dying in cars, working families with children living in tents. The council will come and take away what little they have left, and I hear even children being taken away from their parents. What could be more urgent than this? Regular working, contributing members of society are being forced into a bidding war with foreigners for homes our parents and their parents built. And we're losing. We had the rug pulled out from under us, millions of us, not by our own choices, not by immigrants, but by government policy. This whole disaster looks like it's snowballing. These problems seem to be feeding into themselves and growing exponentially. I'm genuinely concerned that if we don't stop the bleeding soon, and I mean very soon, something very bad is going to happen across the entire economy, especially while we have social unrest apparently spreading throughout the world. So here are 6 things we can do right now. One, we need sustainable immigration, and let's call it that from now on. What we want is sustainable immigration, and we must make it our number one priority. Number two, we can raise public awareness for this catastrophe. It is a national emergency. We must demand the government take action, and I don't mean words, I mean actions. I do think that we should tackle immigration first because it's the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest one to solve. Number three, we should call out vested interests when we see them. Shine a light on people and corporations that are prioritizing profits or corruption over people, especially the disadvantaged. Number four, if some group or corporation wants higher immigration, we should demand it be sustainable. For example, if a uni wants more foreign students, why can't they build more accommodation for them? Number five, we need to bring back the idea of the fair go. I believe everyone deserves a fair go. No matter your race, creed, or religion, wherever you come from, I think everyone deserves a fair go. I think that's part of what built this country, and I think that's what's needed to rebuild it. Six, and most importantly, we need to work together to save our country. We need to put egos and differences of opinion aside and work for the common good of the country and her people. I just want to finish with a quote by an unknown author. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. I sincerely hope that we can work together so that all our children and future generations can once more have a fair go and hope for the future.